From self-driving buses to relaxation pods and hologram meetings, the future of your working day might be closer than you think. Starting in Singapore and stopping off across the globe before ending in California, we've asked our correspondents to step into the future and see how every part of the 9 to 5 will be transformed. From the daily commute,
Look, no driver.
to the future of meetings,
Now I just look silly nodding in thin air, but that's how hologram technology works.
and even your lunch break.
I could be listening to my favorite song and enjoy my lunch.
This is the future of work and reinventing the 9 to 5.
Please fasten your seatbelt.
People have long dreamed of taking a jetpack or a flying car to work. And that reality is closer than most of you think.
The Last Mile Challenge means moving people from transportation hubs to their final destination. For urban planners, it's a complex problem that involves congestion, run times, and population density.
And this is a driverless bus, the latest step that some cities are taking to get you where you need to go. Look, no driver. Well, most people today are still worried about car crashes when getting into a vehicle without a human behind the wheel. But experts say technology is improving so much, it will be safer than people driving on the streets.
The human nature is that if the last mile is not convenient or comfortable, then you don't adopt the technology. I think commuting should be less taxing, less time consuming, more fun.
From Uber to Airbus, global players are investing in unmanned passenger drones that could take taxis from the highway to the skies. Dubai has even promised that a service will begin flying this year, but for now, battery-powered electric vehicles are moving people in new ways.
And for many commuters, this is the last mile solution, where their office is there and the train only takes them here. So, how does it work?
The electric scooters is a battery-operated scooter where you can actually use an app to activate it via QR code and it's ready to go. We see a huge popular demand in all the places that we've launched, especially places where they need connection from the MRT station to their offices or the schools.
And with everything that you've told me, Ginny, I'm really excited to try one of your electric scooters. Come on, tell me how to use it.
Select the drop-off point. It will assign you a scooter with sufficient battery. You just scan this QR code, and when you hear a beeping sound, just press it
it's
on.
ready to go.
Yes.
Jetpacks and hoverboards were once only used by the likes of James Bond and Marty McFly, but a number of companies are turning science fiction into science fact. Former U.S. Air Force pilot Paco Uybarreta says learning to fly this one-man aircraft is easier than riding a bicycle.
Now we're at the stage where I think we can get into really exploring the dream and the idea and the concept and the science behind, true human flight.
Not for commuting just yet, but occupations like police, fire, and rescue could be using them soon.
I don't have a jetpack just yet, but one thing's for sure, the way we get to work is constantly changing and it will be vastly different in the future. Ah, my lift is here. I gotta get to the office. I don't want to be late.
Doors are closing.
Do you go to work every day and worry that a machine is about to steal your job?
I think the impact to people is psychologically, they will feel threatened.
Robots and artificial intelligence are not new, but their combined power and potential is revolutionizing the workplace.
There are types of routine jobs that will be total replacement. So assembly line, inspection, customer service, representative telemarketing. It will be a total replacement.
Unseen software robots using artificial intelligence are having a big impact on office workers. They learn from human behavior and take on simpler tasks. This is Xiao Su. She is AI-powered. She's trying to make justice work a bit better.
The smart assistant reads digitized case files comprehensively. Based on that, it searches and categorizes problems in the case or items that demand particular attention. It makes basic judgments that need to be confirmed by prosecutors.
I wanted to give you some context about justice here. It's not impartial. Politics can trump everything. And they didn't like that.
China believes it can lead the world in AI and robot development. It believes its huge population gives it the edge.
Now, I've got to admit, I'm not feeling that comfortable, but this is how a visit to the dentist could look in the future. No human hands delving in, no hot breath on your cheek. Instead, this, a robot doing all the hard work, including, of course...
This robot dentist has been 4 years in the making at a military hospital in Xi'an. It's operated on a human for the first time last September.
At first, lovers. It's a patient think, oh, it's a robot gave a treatment to me. Some person is lovers. But we tried many times before the operation. That we use this robot machine. Tried many times. Now, step by step. Now, the patient think, now I'm relaxed. In right
Movement
direction.
has been a challenge, though, as it is with most robots. Moving patients, flinching in pain, are a problem. But the next big wave of change will be with robots that you can't see, the ones that deal with your bank complaint or insurance claim.
AI is an enabler, not an arms race. So I think we should think about it as it's doing great things for every country, and how can we work together to benefit from it and to solve the challenges that it brings about.
It's lunchtime here in Mumbai and I'm heading out for something to eat. Even though lots of Indians go out to work every day, having a hearty meal at lunchtime is still top priority. For more than 100 years, this is how hundreds of thousands of Indians have been getting their lunch at work. Dabbawalas are a network of couriers who deliver home-cooked lunches known as tiffins from kitchens around the city to offices. It's one of the most efficient logistics systems in the world. But the nature of work and food is changing. So what might the future hold?
Thank you. Have you ever been sitting at work starving but completely unexcited by what's in your lunchbox? You're probably unsure of what to eat, but when you finally order something else, it takes so much time to get to you.
But what if your order could just drop out of the sky? Well, one restaurant in Mumbai is trying to do just that.
In a city like Bombay, if you imagine all the delivery boys being off the street, it would really ease up traffic in a big way. It's very environmentally friendly. It's cheaper than having a bike. It can reach much quicker. So for me, it was a logical thing to do.
Inspired by Amazon delivering packages by drone, Mumbai-based Francesco's delivered the world's first pizza the same way in 2014.
Drones have become cheaper, better, more efficient. They can carry larger payloads, fly for longer periods of time now.
Mikhail is confident he can make drone deliveries a reality as soon as the Indian government makes it legal to fly them. But he admits that lots of safeguards need to be put in place, not least a flight control centre just for drones. So it's not just about how food gets to you, but about the entire experience. And rather than have my lunch sitting at my desk, I can be transported to somewhere much more exotic. So here I am in this beautiful setting somewhere in Italy. And over in the corner is some sunshine, which we don't always see in the workplace. And if I really want, I could be listening to my favourite song and enjoy my lunch. What about the type of food we're eating? Aspartica Biotech, a company based in southern India, is working towards turning silkworms into food for humans. And rather than have a pot of guacamole with your nachos, you can have this nice-looking flour made from the same ingredients. This is a 3D printer, a machine that prints layers of food from purees, saving you time on making fiddly food. And because it can print a variety of shapes, it can make your food a whole lot more interesting. And what could be next? Meat made in test tubes? A capsule to one day replace a meal?
Well, that would certainly be convenient for someone with a busy job like mine, although not so good for my mental health. Well, that's my lunch break over. Time to get back to the grind.
Another day at the office. Let's hope it's going to be a productive one. Maybe there's some technology that can help me with that.
So this is a dry sensor EEG.
Could a study of my brainwaves make me more productive? Trey Azam's company Mindplay certainly thinks so.
This line here is raw electrical activity.
I'm going to wear this brain monitor through my working day. What else have we got in the program? During exciting meetings. That's pretty scary. Important phone calls. Even when I go to get my lunch. We'll find out later what the results are. When it comes to productivity in factories, it's easy enough to work out how you measure it, and boosting it can be as easy as just taking away people and adding machines. But how do you make anyone who works in an office, an economist say, more productive?
Better technology tends to increase the amount that we can produce per person. So, if I work with better software, better computers, I'm likely to be more productive. If a factory worker is working with a better machine, they're likely to be more productive.
So that's 11:30 on the 28th. I'll see you then. Bye. Well, here's another trend. We're all producing vast amounts of communications data in the office. Telephone calls, emails, chats, messages of all kinds. What if we could analyze that and learn some lessons about productivity? Well, this company is using artificial intelligence to do just that.
You have telephony data, that's phone call data, that's email data, that's chat data.
Behavox monitors communications by bank workers, mainly to spot any unlawful or unethical activity.
Burn, baby, burn.
But now it wants to take this product further, using artificial intelligence to assess whether your communications are productive.
It would go through chats and understand, are you friendly in that particular discussion with the client, or are you friendly with your colleagues and employees? So it's able to use content of communications to make inferences about what it means for relationships between people, what it means for the topics of discussion between those people.
It all feels a bit Big Brother.
In our personal lives, we're actually giving away all this data for free to companies like Facebook, for example. So when it comes to workplace, all of a sudden, everybody is so upset about the fact that the company is going to use that data to make more money or to improve performance or to improve happiness around the workplace.
Please put on the virtual reality headset.
But maybe all this pressure to be more productive is going to stress us out. This pod provides a relaxing, multi-sense experience. Wearing a virtual reality headset, I'm taken out of the noisy city to a peaceful landscape. I can even smell my surroundings. Why, though, would an employer pay big money for this?
It's not that expensive, because you see these days a lot of people are getting stressed out, they get burnouts, and they don't show up to work any longer, or they don't perform well, and that is really, really costly.
But enough relaxation, let's find out what that brain monitor says about me. How productive, for instance, am I in meetings?
For the first 7 to 10 minutes of the meetings, you were very highly engaged, and after that it's interesting that you have a slow tapering off of attention. And now that could be because you become less involved in the meeting, or it could be because the meeting moves on to a subject you're less interested in.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Exactly.
What's the wider lesson that this technology can give companies about productivity?
If we can train ourselves through understanding our own deficiencies or areas of improvement required, we can make ourselves better at managing attention, better at managing stress, and therefore ultimately more productive throughout the day.
Well, I think it's been a productive day, but there's one thing I still need to do. Yes, yet another meeting.
What part of your workday do you dread the most? Well, for me, there's certainly one thing I least look forward to, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree with that.
Meetings are hard, whoever you are. They can be boring and sometimes go on for too long. But they're necessary too. They're where some of the most important decisions are taken.
Now, in an office like ours, meetings are pretty easy to have because we all sit across from each other. But some estimates suggest that 40 to 50% of America's workforce could be remote by 2020. So what could meetings of the future look like?
Let me think about that. Companies are turning to futuristic solutions like robots. This is a Segway-like device with an iPad for a face. A person sitting in a remote location can log in and their face is visible on the screen. Double Robotics, a Silicon Valley-based startup, says they've sold these to more than 4,000 customers.
I'm a hologram, and you're standing there, which means you want to be a hologram. So come up here with me and sing this song.
But could telepresence be made to feel even more real?
Okay, now I just look silly nodding in thin air, but that's how hologram technology works. It makes you feel like you're in the same place as someone who's not physically there.
It requires hardware to be specially set up and is still in its early days. But some large companies have begun to use it.
Our clients are a lot of corporate Fortune 500 clients who are using it for telepresence. They're using it for conferences, keynote presentations.
It's not just about technology that allows people to be face-to-face. Companies like these are also on the lookout for innovation that could make all the processes around meetings simpler, starting with scheduling it.
And then I get an email, which I've seen 1,000 times before.
And that's exactly what Dennis Mortensen and his team have been working on. They've developed artificial intelligence that works like a personal assistant. To test it out, I sent him an email about a possible meeting next week.
I've CC'd Amy.
Amy isn't a real person, but a program that will read my emails and Dennis's calendar and then help fix the meeting. Sure enough, she replies, and it's all set up.
Of course, the most critical thing about meetings is to ensure that work actually gets done, and there's a lot of innovation to make them more efficient. Of course, it's critical to stay awake, so got my coffee, here I go.
Now, if you're going to get your dream job, you of course have to impress in an interview. But what if your interviewer isn't even a person? I'm about to learn about some not-so-human resources.
This company in Salt Lake City takes online applications and looks at them for signs humans might typically pick up on, things like enthusiasm or sincerity. It's like a normal job interview, but instead of talking to a person, you're doing your best to impress an algorithm.
So it's looking for the same things you or I would look for if we were sitting face to face with someone. What do they say? What words do they use in responding to the question? How do they say it?
My name is Gabriella, and I'm hiring a customer support representative.
Typically, an interview will be 12 or so questions, some written, some recorded.
I am passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about the company. I think it's going to be a great firm to work for.
I had to role play a little, which some may find difficult.
So what's it looking for?
So it's looking for the verbal and nonverbal cues. There is a little bit of a head movement and the eyes sort of lit up. It's a tag of the data. So if more successful people have that eye movement, then it'll be good.
HireVue is just one of several AI-powered recruitment companies that hope their approach will not only make it easier for companies to handle large numbers of applicants quickly, but will also remove the subconscious human bias in that process.
One company here in San Francisco is helping recruiters find people regardless of their gender, race or background. In fact, it's helping recruiters find people who may not be looking for a position at all, at least not yet. In the future, you won't look for a job will look for you.
Entelo is a firm that scrapes online services to build up profiles of people in the workforce, a huge 500 million strong database of expertise. But where it gets really interesting is with its product Envoy.
By looking at this huge data set of people, is we can start to see indicators that might suggest somebody's ready to make a change. It could be based on tenure in a role, events at that company that might be a triggering reason for them to look for a new position.
Removing people from at least part of the recruitment process should remove some of the discrimination, at least in theory. But what if the data is bad? What if the data itself is biased? Hiring people using algorithms is a trend that has some data experts very concerned. Angel Kriston is a data scientist at Stanford University, and she's writing a book on the concerns about big data making real decisions.
The problem with training data is that it is historical data. So what this means is that it's data from the real world which has been shaped by existing social structures, which means that the training data itself shows patterns of discrimination. So the training data that you're going to use, there is no magic to it. It will show biases against women, it will show biases against minorities, it will show biases against protected groups in general.
That's a fair point. I mean, if a company's never hired a woman in a particular role, people will say, well, then you'll never see a woman. But actually that isn't the case. And we're not looking at whether a person's a man or a woman. The algorithms don't care about that.
Of course, what robots can't yet do is replace the value of human interaction in recruitment. For now at least, that's not going away.
The chief executive of the Charles Schwab Bank brings out potential employees for a meal, but he rings the restaurant ahead of time and tells them to purposefully muck up the order. He wants to see what human qualities the candidate would show when faced with that awkward situation. That may be a neat trick, but as we've been learning, sussing out your colleagues might be a lot more difficult in the future. Who cares about you? Where am I going to be in 5 years?